Yeah. Ain't even gotta force it, just let it ride. I've been trying to make sense of all this weight on me. Last year took a lot, yeah, it humbled me, but somehow I'm still here, still breathing. And I know it wasn't luck, nah, I had to be grace. Every time I fell, I ain't stay in that place. Something kept pulling me closer. I ain't who I was before, can't go back no more. Even when I didn't see it, you was working behind doors. It's a new year for the chosen. I can feel my life unfolding. Ain't no pressure, I'm just growing into everything you show me. No more fighting what you wrote in. I'm aligned with what you're holding. If you call me, then I'm going. Yeah, I know I'm chosen. I done had nights I ain't pray at all. Felt too far, didn't wanna call. Still you answer me. That's love, the kind of love that don't keep score. Open arms at every door, even when I ain't deserve it. You said you got a future, don't forget it. And I felt that no weapon form gon' ever last. So I'm done doubting. The last ones, yeah, they first in line. Guess that means it's my time. It's a new year for the chosen. I can feel my life unfolding. Ain't no pressure, I'm just growing into everything you show me. No more fighting what you wrote in. I'm aligned with what you're holding. If you call me, then I'm going. Yeah, I know I'm chosen. Don't rush it, just live it. You already who he says you are. Don't rush it, just live it. You already who he said you are.
Shabbat Shalom, family, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So, I will be uploading that song when we're done. Well, we're going to talk about Donald Trump sending more troops to the Middle East, and 3 more naval ships have been sent. So, it's more Marines, more sailors, and 3 naval ships. So, a lot of people are starting to believe, because over the last 2 weeks, he's just been building up in that region, especially around the Straits of Hormuz. And a lot of folks feel that any day now it's going to be a ground invasion, which I believe is suicide. I really do. Uh, you just don't know. When you don't know the terrain, and it's a lot of elevated mountains all over the place, you know, you're really just handing people over to be slaughtered. As far as I'm concerned, it is not a good thing. Donald Trump is not a military man. He's not. And Pete heads that, he's not much of one either. Just looking at the poor decision making that's going on right now, and it is extremely poor. So I pray for our young people, especially the ones in our family that are enlisted in the service right now, because this is just not going to end well. People going in there on the ground, it is just not going to end well, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. I bumped everything up a little earlier than normal because our Bible study is going to be kind of lengthy. It's 2 hours and 22 minutes. So I want to make sure I give enough time for us to get through the whole thing. So I just bumped this up a little earlier, and I also bumped the Bible study up 1 hour earlier than normal. So instead of 1:45, it will be at 12:45. Okay. Okay, y'all, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Take a look at the military movements that are occurring right now. And that is giving us the clearest signal yet that there is, in fact, some sort of ground troop deployment that is planned. Number one, we have 3 ships, an expeditionary unit of about 2,500 Marines headed to the region. That's in addition to 2,200 Marines that are on an amphibious assault ship also heading to the region. It's the USS Tripoli. Now, in addition to the USS Tripoli, we also know that there are A-10 Warthog jets as well as Apache attack helicopters also being deployed. What does this say in this entirety? Well, there's only one reason that those jets and those helicopters would be deployed, and that is to support ground troops in close air support. So the bottom line in all of this is that the U.S. president is being vague. But what we do know is that the goal is to secure the strait. That is what these Marines would likely be doing. But if boots on the ground are deployed, Adrian, this is a major shift in the war and signals a new phase, one that is likely to be very unpopular with the American public.
Listen, 2 major countries is attacking one country. And this war been going on for 3 weeks. And Iran still holding up strong. Fighting 2 countries. One of them is the baddest motherfuckers on the planet. The other one own this motherfucker. But we just gonna say they're a separate country, and you see what they can do. They ruthless. They're heartless over there. They play for keeps over there. And I'm talking about Israel. But Iran in this 3 weeks been holding up against both of them, taking the phase. Bitch, bring it. Sticking and moving on them. I'm going to tell you something. I don't think this war is going to end in a good way. I think, goddamn, one of these motherfucking countries is going to throw one of them nuke bombs. I don't know if it's going to be motherfucking Iran. I don't know if it's going to be Israel. But a lot of people over there in the Middle East finna get fucked up. You think a nose missing off the motherfucking pyramid, they about to knock, listen, boy, they about to knock the neck off that motherfucker over there in that region, boy. It ain't finna be no but sandals and sand and flip-flops all over the goddamn place. Cause one of them, they hate each other that much over there. They hate each other that much over there that they'll throw a nuke at each other. That's what I'm telling you. The United States ain't gonna throw that shit because they gonna act proper on the fucking big stage because too many people looking at them. But listen what I'm telling you, man. This shit gonna end in a bad way. I'm telling y'all. That's why I tell y'all to stack up on your shit, prepare yourself, get right, because, man, you're gonna have more worse days than better days, man. Y'all stay up out there, get it out the mud.
The United States is now sending more troops to the Middle East. In a new article put online by Reuters, and according to their sources, it states that the U.S. military is deploying thousands of additional Marines and sailors to the Middle East, with one official stating that the ship, USS Boxer, is the one leaving, and they're leaving 3 weeks earlier. We don't know what the mission is at this very moment, but it will take them several weeks to get to the Middle East. The Trump administration is still weighing in whether or not they want to invade or occupy the island of Karg. This is that island off of the coast of Iran, and it's probably one of the most important ones. It handles roughly about 90% of Iran's oil. Yes, that one little island right here, the oil exports. And so the United States is mulling over whether or not they're going to occupy that island so that oil exports can continue. Something to keep in mind is that the United States already has 3 other groups of Marines headed to this area. And if the United States does decide to occupy that area, our Marines are pretty much going to be sitting ducks. How many troops would be coming here? We already knew that 2,500 was dispatched from Japan. There was other groups already out there with several hundred more. And now the USS Boxer is heading out. So a few thousand, probably around 5,000. This very much looks like the very beginning of the United States putting boots on the ground inside of Iran, in this case, on the island. I'll be sure to keep you updated, so please do share my videos and follow me for more.
Breaking news on Iran. Donald Trump is seriously preparing for a ground invasion as the Trump administration and the Pentagon just sent an additional 2,500 Marines from San Diego on the USS Boxer and sister ships to Iran, to the Middle East right now. And while this may sound like deja vu, no, they sent 2,500 troops earlier this week, and they've just sent an additional ship of Marines to the Middle East as well. So they are increasing the number of U.S. service members currently waiting for Trump's order to likely go in and seize Karg Island, which many experts are calling a suicide mission because Iran would absolutely ambush our service members and likely blow up the entire island. This war is becoming a major failure day by day as Donald Trump keeps claiming that the war is almost over, yet Iran does not want to negotiate because Donald Trump is conducting terrorism on the Iranian people and making their government only want to strike the U.S. more, making us all less safe.
Now being reported that the Pentagon is sending 3 warships and thousands of additional Marines to the Middle East, roughly 2,200 to 2,500 Marines from the California-based USS Boxer amphibious-ready group.
CNN has learned that the U.S. military is sending thousands of additional Marines and sailors to the Middle East. This comes just a day after President Trump said this about deploying more troops to the region.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you, but I'm not putting troops.
It also comes just hours after President Trump shared on Truth Social that the fight to stop nuclear-powered Iran is, quote, militarily won. CNN national security reporter Haley Britsky joins us now. Haley, what's the latest? What are you learning?
Yeah, so Boris, we're learning that the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit off the West Coast is heading towards the region now. This is the second MEU going towards the Middle East. The 31st has already left from the Pacific going towards the region. We don't quite know when it'll get there, of course, what exactly it will do. We're still asking if it will stay in the region, if the military will have 2 of these Marine Rapid Response Forces there. Certainly it raises questions about boots on the ground options, as that's the first thing people think of when they think of these MEUs. But these units are really kind of the Swiss Army knives of the Marines and of the military. They can provide aviation logistics support. So they provide commanders a lot of options. A lot we still don't know about this deployment, but it certainly provides a lot of options to Admiral Bradley Cooper of CENTCOM.
It also raises questions about how long this engagement might go. We heard President Trump say it would be a matter of weeks. Now there are questions about whether this is going to be prolonged.
That's right. I mean, we still don't know how long this is going to go. We hear Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth saying it could be 4 weeks, it could be 5 weeks, it could be 3 weeks. Obviously, we're nearing the 4th week point at this point. But they keep saying, we keep hearing from these senior officials that, as we just heard from the president, this is essentially won, that the conflict is, there's fewer targets to hit. But still, the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed. We just saw yesterday an F-35, US F-35 had to make an emergency landing after sources say it was believed to be hit by Iranian fire. So there's certainly a lot lot still happening on the ground here, and these units moving in will just provide more options for what the president decides to do next.
Haley Britsky, thanks so much for that reporting.
CNN's Kevin Liptak joins me from the White House. And Kevin, let me go to you first. And more Marines, like we were saying, making their way to the Middle East as administration, of course, pushes, we've been talking about, for extra funding, some $200 billion. Bring us up to date, the very latest. What do we know, first of all, about this deployment?
Right. And this will be the second, what they call a Marine Expeditionary Unit that's now headed towards the Middle East. There is another one that is deploying from Asia and heading in that direction. So it will bring the total number of Marines tasked to these units to about 4,500, and it will add to the about 50,000 American troops that are already in the Middle East. Now, what exactly these Marines will be tasked with, it's not clear. And it comes, of course, as the president does seem to be weighing whether to order a ground operation.
American troops on the way to the Mideast. The USS Boxer leaving San Diego Harbor. The ship set to carry at least 2,200 Marines. The US accelerating their deployment, according to two people familiar with the decision. Meanwhile, as attacks continue in the region, a US F-35 jet making an emergency landing after suspected enemy fire, according to an official familiar with the incident. CENTCOM saying the aircraft landed safely and the pilot is in a stable condition. Iran continues to target energy infrastructure, hitting an oil facility in Kuwait, while Qatar says the Iranian attack on its globally crucial natural gas installation will cost billions.
The Trump administration is weighing a major escalation in the Middle East, and it could mean American forces on the ground inside Iran. This comes as sources tell Reuters the U.S. is deploying thousands of additional troops, Navy and Marines, to the Middle East. Trump said if he was going to, he wouldn't tell journalists about future troop deployments.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
So what would American troops do in Iran? One option, securing the Strait of Hormuz to protect oil tankers. That mission would rely almost certainly on air and naval forces. But sources tell Reuters it could also involve U.S. troops on Iran's shores along the strait. Another, seizing Karg Island, the hub for 90% of Iran's oil exports. Officials admit that mission would be extremely risky. Iran could hit the island with missiles and drones and would almost certainly retaliate throughout the region. There's also been talk of deploying forces to secure Iran's stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, though experts caution that would be highly complex and dangerous given Iran's tunneling and terrain. This would all be a sharp departure from Trump's campaign promises to avoid new wars. Public support for the Iran campaign is already low.
Sad news for the world today. 22,000 more Marines and 3 Navy ships are likely on their way to the Middle East. They've already left the port in San Diego and they are headed in that direction. If it receives final orders to the Middle East, joining the 31st MEU, it will be an increase of close to 9,000 additional forces to the region. The 31st MEU is on its way to the Middle East from Asia after receiving orders from the Pentagon last Friday. Those Marines and ships are likely to arrive in the region sometime next week, and it will take 2 weeks for the USS Boxer amphibious ready group to get to Southeast Asia, then an additional time to make its way to the Middle East if it gets final orders to go there. Included in the MEU would be ground forces and aviation units that include fighter jets. And the craziest part about this is it's going to make our lives as United States citizens exponentially more difficult. This war is crashing the economy. I don't think we can avoid stagflation at this point. And genuinely, what is this for? We have people resigning and saying that there was no threat from Iran in the first place. We know what it's for, though, and we know who this is for, and it's not for America.
This is breaking news. Reports indicate the United States will send 3 additional warships to the Middle East and at least 2,500 additional U.S. Marines as the Trump administration looks to the next phase of this conflict.
More than 2,000 more Marines have just set sail from San Diego, likely headed to the Middle East. That's in addition to the 2,000 expected to arrive there next week. Let's bring in senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez, ABC and White House correspondent Karen Travers for more. Louis, what's the latest on this new deployment of more than 2,000 Marines?
Diane, this is the USS Boxer Amphibious Ready Group that left from San Diego earlier this week. They are currently on a previously scheduled deployment to the Indo-Pacific Command, which is essentially Asia. But we understand from officials that they are likely going to be rerouted to head towards the Middle East to join an additional Marine Expeditionary Unit, which was just diverted from Asia last week and is scheduled to arrive in the Middle East sometime early next week. So now you have what's called the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit from Asia headed there now, and likely seeing the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit from San Diego headed to the Middle East in the near future. This is a land component. It's ground forces. They're aboard 3 U.S. Navy ships that could have amphibious capability. That means they can go from sea to shore, which means beach landings. They also carry F-35s. They also have Harrier jets, depending on which unit. And you also have MV-22 Ospreys and some attack helicopters. So you have aviation capability, you have sea to land capability, and you have a ground force. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that something is in the offing very shortly for what's happening now in Iran? There's been a lot of speculation about Karg Island, that very strategic island about 15 miles south of the mainland of Iran, and whether the United States will want to take that possession of that area. But again, all speculation. But when you're seeing these two forces now moving towards the head of the Middle East, what you're seeing now is a lot more of options that would be available to military commanders should the need arise for some kind of ground capability. But no indication right now that that is a reality. In fact, what we heard from President Trump yesterday was more indications that he has not made a decision, and as of now, he's not leaning towards the use of ground troops.
And Karen, President Trump is calling Americans' NATO allies cowards for refusing to help him reopen the Strait of Hormuz. What else are you hearing about what he wants them to do?
Yeah, Diane, this is the ongoing pressure campaign from the president that we've heard over the last week, where he is pushing NATO allies to get involved in an effort to reopen the strait, but at the same time saying that this help is not needed. And now in this new social media post, the president is calling these countries cowards and saying that he will remember this. He says that this would be easy for European allies to do with, quote, so little risk. Louis was talking there about some of the options. One option we know that the president was presented with was using U.S. military assets to reopen the strait, but he has been trying to get other countries to get involved in this. Now, we have heard from numerous European leaders who say this is not NATO's war to fight, and that the administration did not build a coalition in advance. They didn't come to them ahead of these strikes starting to say this could be a potential issue. How do we figure this out? So there's been some significant pushback on that. We did hear from French President Macron last night, who said that France and other nations would assist in a ship escort system in the strait, but they wouldn't participate in what they said was a forced opening of the strait in the context of ongoing military operations. So essentially, they want to see this die down before they take part in anything that would have significant risk to their own military assets.
All right. Well, I definitely pray for these young people going there. You know, I think Donald Trump is the worst president ever to lead in any kind of war. Isn't he like a 5-time bone spur person? You know, so this definitely is going to be a major disaster, you know, and it's true when the prime minister said Iran has been preparing for these sort of attacks for 20 years. And I tell you what, they are fighting like champs. They are. And the US and Israel are fighting like amateurs. You know, the way they're fighting, and I don't blame the young people, I blame the people at the top. You know, they had good people, y'all, in the military. And Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth pushed a lot of people out that never should have been pushed out. So this is the end result of it. And I'm just telling you, this ain't going to end well for the U.S. at all. So y'all, oh, I gotta tell y'all something crazy that happened. I have like some wooden furniture that's for outdoors. And I don't buy furniture polish because you can use essential oils. You can mix up your own oils for your wooden furniture. So that's what I do. You know, you can use orange oil, lemon oil, cedar wood, even olive oil. And it's really good in keeping the furniture in good condition. So I took it outside, getting ready to polish everything up, right? And I left one rag that I really wanted to use. So I put everything down on the ground. I went in the house, got the rag, went back outside to start on the furniture. A mouse leaped in my damn oil. I was like, oh, hell no, hell no. Leaped right in. I guess it smelled good to them, and maybe they thought it was something to eat. So it leaped right in my damn oil. And I'm like, oh no. So I just picked the whole jar up and threw it in the trash. I never had nothing like that happen. I said, wow, I think he thought it was food because of the way, you know, the combination and the smells and everything. The poor thing probably thought it was some food and he leapt right in there and died. You know, the oil suffocated him. So, yeah, it's that time of the year, y'all. So, anyway, y'all, I will see you on the next live, which is the Bible study coming up at 12:45. So, I will see you then. Shabbat Shalom, family.